Emma's fingers gripped the handle of the mop tightly as she pushed it across the polished floor of the executive office. The scent of lemon-scented cleaner filled the air, masking the lingering aroma of expensive cologne and freshly brewed coffee. Her eyes darted to the large windows, offering a breathtaking view of the New York skyline. It was a view she cleaned every day but could never truly enjoy. As she worked, Emma's mind wandered to her daughter, Mia. The image of her little girl's hopeful face when she asked for new shoes last week made Emma's heart ache. She had to say no again. The meager salary she earned as a cleaner barely covered their basic needs. Emma glanced at the designer shoes tucked neatly under the mahogany desk she was cleaning. One pair probably cost more than she made in a month. The contrast between her life and the lives of those who worked in this building was stark. While she struggled to put food on the table, they dined at five-star restaurants. While she worried about paying rent for their tiny apartment, they lived in penthouses and brownstones. The injustice of it all sometimes threatened to overwhelm her. But Emma pushed those thoughts aside. She had a job to do, and she was grateful for it, no matter how unfair the world seemed. As Emma moved to empty the trash can, she heard voices approaching. Quickly, she stepped behind a large potted plant, not wanting to disturb whoever was coming. Two men in expensive suits entered the office, their voices low and urgent. Emma knew she should leave, but something in their tone made her pause. "We need to move fast," one man said, his voice barely above a whisper. "If word gets out about this plan, the whole company could go under." The other man nodded, his face grim. "I know, but if we pull this off, we'll be set for life. The old man won't know what hit him until it's too late." Emma's heart raced. She didn't understand all the details, but she knew enough to realize these men were planning something that could harm the company. As they continued to speak in hushed tones, she strained to hear more, her conscience battling with her instinct for self-preservation. The men's conversation abruptly ended as a phone rang. They left the office quickly, leaving Emma alone with the weight of what she had just overheard. She resumed her cleaning, her mind whirling with possibilities and fears. As her shift ended and Emma prepared to leave the building, she found herself hesitating by the elevator. The conversation she had overheard played on repeat in her mind. She knew she should mind her own business. After all, she was just a cleaner, and getting involved in corporate affairs could jeopardize her job, a risk she couldn't afford to take. But as she thought about the potential consequences of staying silent, Emma felt a knot form in her stomach. If these men were planning something illegal, it could affect everyone in the company, including the other cleaners and security staff, people like her who couldn't afford to lose their jobs if the company went under. Emma's hand hovered over the elevator button. She had always taught Mia to do the right thing, no matter how difficult it might be. What kind of example would she be setting if she walked away now? With a deep breath, Emma made her decision. She turned away from the elevator and walked towards the reception desk. Her heart pounded as she approached the receptionist, a young woman who had always been kind to the cleaning staff. "Excuse me," Emma said, her voice shaky. "I need to speak with someone important. I overheard something, and I think it might be serious." The receptionist looked at her with surprise but nodded, picking up the phone. As Emma waited, she silently prayed she was doing the right thing. She didn't know what consequences her decision might bring, but she knew she couldn't live with herself if she stayed silent. Little did Emma know that this moment of courage would set in motion a chain of events that would change her life forever, entangling her in a web of corporate intrigue, danger, and unexpected connections. As she stood there, waiting to be heard, the New York skyline twinkled behind her, indifferent to the small yet significant act of bravery unfolding in its shadow. Emma's palms were sweaty as she stepped into the opulent office of Alex Carter. The room exuded power and wealth, with its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Alex sat behind a massive desk, his attention focused on a stack of documents. He looked up as Emma entered, surprise evident on his face. "Can I help you?" Alex asked, his tone businesslike but not unkind. Emma took a deep breath. "Mr. Carter, my name is Emma. I'm part of the cleaning staff, and I overheard something that I think you should know about." Alex's eyebrows raised slightly, but he gestured for her to continue. Emma recounted what she had heard, her voice growing steadier as she spoke. She described the hushed conversation, the mentions of a plan that could destabilize the company, and the urgency in the men's voices. As she finished, Alex leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Emma. It took courage to come forward." Emma nodded, relief washing over her. "I couldn't just ignore it. It didn't seem right." Alex stood up and walked around his desk. "You did the right thing. I'll look into this matter personally. Can you describe the men you overheard?" Emma provided as much detail as she could remember about their appearance and voices. Alex listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes. "I appreciate your honesty and integrity, Emma. Not many people would have done what you did. I promise you, your job is safe, and this conversation will remain confidential." Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders. As she turned to leave, Alex spoke again. "One more thing, Emma. What's your daughter's name?" Surprised, Emma replied, "Mia. Her name is Mia." Alex smiled. "Well, tell Mia her mother is a very brave woman." The next morning, Emma woke up early as usual to prepare Mia for school. As she stepped out of their apartment building, she stopped dead in her tracks. Parked in front of the building was a gleaming red Ferrari, looking completely out of place in their modest neighborhood. A man in a suit approached her, holding out a set of keys. "Ms. Emma, this is for you, courtesy of Mr. Alex Carter." Emma's mind reeled. She took the keys automatically, staring at the luxurious car in disbelief. A small envelope was attached to the keyring. With shaking hands, she opened it to find a note. "Emma, a small token of appreciation for your integrity. Your actions may have saved the company. Alex Carter." As the suited man walked away, Emma stood frozen, the keys heavy in her hand. The Ferrari gleamed in the morning sun, drawing curious glances from passers-by. Emma felt a mix of emotions wash over her: gratitude, disbelief, and an unexpected feeling of guilt. She thought about her neighbors, many of whom were struggling just like her. What would they think? How could she explain this sudden windfall? And more importantly, was it right to accept such an extravagant gift for simply doing what she believed was right? Emma's practical side also kicked in. The insurance, the maintenance, the fuel, all of it would cost more than she could afford. And what about parking? Their neighborhood wasn't exactly equipped for luxury sports cars. As these thoughts swirled in her mind, Mia emerged from the building, her eyes widening at the sight of the Ferrari. "Wow, Mom, is that ours?" Emma hesitated, unsure how to respond. She didn't want to lie to her daughter, but she also didn't want to explain the complicated situation that led to this gift. "It's complicated, sweetie. Let's get you to school, okay?" As they walked past the Ferrari, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that by accepting this gift, she had somehow crossed a line. The world she had merely observed from afar while cleaning was now reaching out to pull her in. It was both thrilling and terrifying. Throughout the day, as Emma went about her cleaning duties, her mind kept drifting back to the Ferrari parked outside her apartment. She felt exposed, as if her actions had put a spotlight on her that she wasn't sure she wanted. The quiet anonymity that had been her shield was slowly being stripped away. She realized that by speaking up, she had set something in motion that was bigger than she had anticipated. The lines between her world and the world of the wealthy executives she cleaned for were blurring, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for what that might mean. As her shift ended, Emma made a decision. She would thank Mr. Carter for his generosity, but politely decline the gift. It was too much, too soon, and came with complications she wasn't prepared to handle. She only hoped that her refusal wouldn't be seen as ingratitude or impact the trust she had begun to build with Alex Carter. Emma's senses were on high alert as she moved through the office building the following days. She felt eyes on her constantly, though when she turned to look, no one seemed to be paying her any particular attention. Still, the prickle at the back of her neck persisted, making her jumpy and anxious. At home, Emma tried to maintain a sense of normalcy for Mia's sake. She helped with homework, cooked dinner, and listened to Mia's stories about school, all while pushing down the growing unease in her stomach. But Mia, perceptive as always, noticed the change in her mother. "Mom, are you okay?" Mia asked one evening as Emma absently stirred a pot of pasta, her mind elsewhere. Emma forced a smile. "Of course, sweetheart, just a bit tired from work." Mia didn't look convinced, but she didn't press further. Emma felt a pang of guilt for not being fully present for her daughter, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The next day, as Emma was finishing up her shift, her cell phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. A distorted voice responded, sending chills down her spine. "You should have kept your mouth shut, Emma. Mind your own business, or things might get unpleasant for you and your little girl." The line went dead before Emma could respond. Her hands shook as she lowered the phone, fear gripping her heart. They knew about Mia. The threat was clear, and suddenly, the danger felt very real. Emma's first instinct was to run, to grab Mia and disappear. But where would they go? How would they survive? And would running really solve anything, or just delay the inevitable? As the panic threatened to overwhelm her, Emma took a deep breath, forcing herself to think rationally. She had started this by speaking up, and now she had a responsibility to see it through. Running would only put Mia in more danger in the long run. With renewed determination, Emma made her way to Alex Carter's office. She needed to tell him about the threat, to make him understand the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just about corporate intrigue anymore. It was about her family's safety. Alex's assistant tried to turn her away, insisting that Mr. Carter was in meetings all afternoon. But Emma stood her ground, refusing to leave until she spoke with him. Her persistence paid off when Alex emerged from his office, looking surprised to see her there. "Emma, is everything all right?" he asked, noting her agitated state. "I need to speak with you, Mr. Carter. It's urgent," Emma replied, her voice low but firm. Alex nodded, ushering her into his office and closing the door behind them. Once inside, Emma recounted the threatening phone call, her words tumbling out in a rush. Alex's face grew serious as he listened. When Emma finished, he leaned forward, his eyes meeting hers. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I should have anticipated this might happen. But I want you to know, we're in this together now. I won't let anything happen to you or Mia." Emma felt a mixture of relief and apprehension at his words. "What do we do now?" she asked. "First, we need to ensure your safety," Alex replied. "I'll arrange for security for you and Mia, and we need to accelerate our investigation into this corruption. The sooner we expose these people, the sooner you'll be out of danger." As Alex spoke, laying out plans for protection and further investigation, Emma felt a shift in their relationship. They were no longer just an employer and employee, or even a billionaire and a cleaner. They were allies in a fight against corruption, bound together by circumstance and a shared determination to uncover the truth. "Thank you, Mr. Carter," Emma said, as their meeting concluded. "I know I've put you in a difficult position by coming to you with this." Alex shook his head. "You did the right thing, Emma, both in alerting me initially and in coming to me now. We're in this together, and I promise you, we will see it through." As Emma left Alex's office, she felt a mix of emotions. Fear still lingered, but it was tempered now by a sense of resolve. She had taken a stand, and despite the threats, she wasn't backing down. Whatever came next, she would face it head-on, for herself and for Mia. Walking home that evening, Emma felt the weight of her decision. She had crossed a line, stepping into a world of corporate intrigue and danger that she never imagined would be part of her life. But as she thought of Mia, of the future she wanted for her daughter, Emma knew she had made the right choice. The road ahead would be difficult, filled with challenges and dangers she couldn't yet imagine. But Emma was no longer alone in this fight. With Alex Carter as an ally, she had a chance to make a real difference, to expose the corruption that threatened not just a company, but the livelihoods of countless employees like herself. As she reached her apartment, Emma took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The game had changed, and so had she. No longer just a cleaner trying to make ends meet, Emma was now a key player in a high-stakes battle against corporate corruption, and she was ready to fight. Emma and Alex wasted no time in launching their investigation. They met in secret, often late at night in Alex's office or in discreet cafes around the city. Emma's knowledge of the building's layout and cleaning schedules proved invaluable, allowing them access to offices and documents that would otherwise be off-limits. One night, as they pored over financial reports and email records, Alex let out a low whistle. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a series of transactions. "These numbers don't add up. It looks like someone's been siphoning off funds and disguising it as operational costs." Emma leaned in, her brow furrowed. She might not understand all the financial jargon, but she could see the discrepancies. Who has access to make these kinds of transactions? "That's the thing," Alex replied, running a hand through his hair. "It would have to be someone high up, very high up." As they dug deeper, they uncovered a web of deceit that went far beyond what Emma had initially overheard. False companies, inflated contracts, kickbacks. The corruption ran deep and involved several top executives. "This is bigger than we thought," Alex said one evening, his voice tired. "We're not just dealing with a few bad apples. This is systemic." Emma nodded, feeling the weight of their discovery. "What do we do now?" "We keep digging," Alex replied. "We need irrefutable evidence if we're going to expose this." As they worked together night after night, Emma began to see a different side of Alex. Behind the billionaire facade was a man deeply committed to doing the right thing, even at great personal cost. He spoke of his late father, who had built the company from the ground up, and his determination to honor that legacy. "You know, Emma," Alex said one night as they took a break, "I've never had anyone in my life who wasn't interested in my money or power. It's refreshing to work with someone who's just interested in the truth." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. "I'm just doing what's right," she replied. "But I appreciate your trust in me." As the days passed, Alex began to open up more about his personal life. He spoke of the loneliness at the top, the constant pressure to perform, and the difficulty in forming genuine relationships. "My daughter Sophie is the only real connection I have," he admitted one evening. "Everything else feels transactional." Emma found herself sharing too, about her struggles as a single mother, her dreams for Mia, and the daily challenges of making ends meet. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, they found common ground in their love for their children and their desire to make the world a better place. One afternoon, as Emma was leaving Alex's office after dropping off some documents, she ran into Sophie. The young girl, about Mia's age, looked at Emma curiously. "Are you the lady my dad's been working with?" Sophie asked. Emma nodded, surprised. "Yes, I am. My name's Emma." Sophie smiled. "Dad says you're very brave. Do you have any kids?" "I have a daughter about your age," Emma replied. Her name is Mia. Sophie's eyes lit up. Really? Maybe we could all have dinner sometime. Dad never brings friends home. Before Emma could respond, Alex appeared, looking slightly flustered. Sophie, honey, shouldn't you be with your tutor? As Sophie said goodbye and left, Alex turned to Emma with an apologetic smile. I'm sorry about that. Sophie can be direct. Emma shook her head. It's fine. She seems like a lovely girl. There was a moment of awkward silence before Alex spoke again. You know, Sophie's idea isn't bad. Maybe you and Mia would like to join us for dinner sometime? It might be nice for the girls to meet. Emma hesitated. The idea of their two worlds colliding felt strange, yet somehow right. I'd like that, she found herself saying. I'm sure Mia would too. As Emma left the building that day, she felt a mix of emotions. The investigation was progressing, bringing them closer to exposing the truth, but it was also bringing her closer to Alex in ways she hadn't anticipated. The lines between their professional and personal lives were blurring, and Emma wasn't sure how to feel about it. She thought about Mia and Sophie meeting, about sharing a meal with Alex outside of their clandestine meetings. It was a step into unknown territory, one that both excited and terrified her. As she walked home, Emma realized that this investigation wasn't just changing the company. It was changing her life in ways she never could have imagined. Emma and Alex decided it was time to take their findings to someone who could help make them public. They arranged a secret meeting with Jack Reeves, a respected investigative journalist known for exposing corporate corruption. The meeting was set for a small, nondescript cafe on the outskirts of the city. Emma arrived first, her heart racing as she scanned the room for any signs of trouble. Alex arrived a few minutes later, nodding to her as he took a seat at her table. Jack Reeves walked in shortly after, his weathered face serious as he approached them. Mr. Carter, he said, shaking Alex's hand before turning to Emma. And you must be Emma. I've heard a lot about you two. As they settled in, Alex and Emma began to lay out their evidence. They showed Jack the financial records, the emails, and the patterns of suspicious behavior they had uncovered. Jack listened intently, occasionally asking for clarification or more details. This is big, Jack said, his eyes widening as he looked over a particularly damning document. If what you're saying is true, this could bring down half the board of directors. Emma nodded, feeling a mix of pride and fear. It's all true. We've triple-checked everything. As Jack was about to respond, the cafe door burst open. A group of men in expensive suits walked in, their faces set in grim expressions. Emma recognized two of them as the executives she had overheard in the office weeks ago. Well, well, one of the men said, his voice dripping with disdain. What do we have here? A little meeting of the whistleblowers? Alex stood up, his face a mask of calm defiance. Gentlemen, this is a private meeting. I suggest you leave. The lead executive, a man named Richard Harding, stepped forward. Oh, I don't think so, Alex. We've been watching you for weeks. Did you really think we wouldn't notice your little investigation? Emma felt a chill run down her spine. They had been so careful. How had they been discovered? Jack Reeves stood up as well, his reporter's instincts kicking in. And who exactly are you, gentlemen? Care to comment on the allegations of financial fraud and corruption within your company? Harding's face twisted into a sneer. There are no allegations. Just the desperate actions of a cleaner who doesn't know her place and a CEO who's lost his grip on reality. Emma felt anger rise within her. She stood up, her voice steady despite her fear. I know exactly what my place is. It's standing up for what's right, no matter who it is that's doing wrong. The tension in the room was palpable. Other patrons in the cafe were watching the confrontation with a mix of curiosity and concern. Harding took a step towards Emma, his voice low and threatening. You have no idea what you're dealing with, little girl. You should have kept your mouth shut and stuck to scrubbing toilets." Before anyone could react, Alex stepped between Emma and Harding. "That's enough," he said, his voice cold. "You're done, Richard. We have enough evidence to bury you and everyone involved in this scheme." Harding laughed, a harsh, mirthless sound. "Evidence? You mean the documents you stole? The private conversations you illegally recorded? Go ahead, take it to the authorities. See how far that gets you when our lawyers are done with you." Jack Reeves, who had been quietly recording the entire confrontation on his phone, spoke up. "I think the public might be very interested in hearing this story, regardless of what happens in court." Harding's face paled slightly, realizing the implications of having a journalist witness the confrontation. He composed himself quickly, straightening his tie. "This isn't over," he said, glaring at Emma and Alex. "You have no idea what you've started." With that, Harding and his associates left the cafe, leaving a tense silence in their wake. Emma let out a shaky breath, the reality of the situation hitting her. "What do we do now?" she asked, looking between Alex and Jack. Alex put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We keep going. They're scared, which means we're on the right track." Jack nodded in agreement. "I'll start working on the story right away. But you two need to be careful. They're not going to take this lying down." As they left the cafe, Emma felt a mix of fear and determination. The confrontation had made the danger they faced all too real, but it had also strengthened her resolve. She had stood her ground, faced down the men who thought they could intimidate her into silence. Walking home, Emma realized that there was no turning back now. The next move would be crucial, and she knew she had to act fast. The safety of her daughter, the future of the company, and the pursuit of justice all hung in the balance. With a deep breath, Emma steeled herself for what was to come, knowing that the real battle was just beginning. Emma's phone rang as she was preparing dinner for Mia. Her heart raced when she saw it was an unknown number. With trembling hands, she answered. "Hello?" "You've been warned once," a distorted voice growled. "This is your last chance. Back off, or your daughter pays the price." The line went dead. Emma's legs gave out, and she sank to the floor, her mind reeling. This was no longer just about her. They had threatened Mia directly. "Mom? Are you okay?" Mia's voice came from the doorway, concern etched on her young face. Emma forced a smile, quickly getting to her feet. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just a little tired. How about we order pizza tonight?" As Mia cheered and ran off to choose toppings, Emma's mind raced. She needed to talk to Alex immediately. An hour later, after ensuring Mia was safely asleep, Emma met Alex in a secluded corner of a 24-hour diner. She recounted the threatening call, her voice shaking. Alex's face darkened with anger. "This has gone too far," he said, his fist clenching on the table. "We need to take immediate action to protect you and Mia." "What can we do?" Emma asked, fear and desperation evident in her voice. "I can't risk anything happening to Mia." Alex leaned forward, his voice low and determined. "I have a plan. I own a secure property outside the city. It's off the grid, impossible to trace. I want you and Mia to go there immediately." Emma's eyes widened. "Leave? But what about our investigation? What about your daughter, Sophie?" "Sophie will be fine. She has round-the-clock security," Alex assured her. "As for the investigation, we're close to breaking this wide open. Jack is ready to publish. We just need a little more time to ensure all our bases are covered legally." Emma nodded slowly, the reality of the situation sinking in. How long would we need to be away? "A week, maybe 2 at most," Alex replied. "I'll have my most trusted security team escort you there. You'll be safe, I promise." As they finalized the details, Emma felt a mix of relief and anxiety. The idea of hiding out felt like admitting defeat, but she knew it was necessary to protect Mia. The next morning, as Emma was packing a small bag for herself and Mia, her phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "Hi, Emma. Dad said you and Mia are going on a trip. Can Mia and I have a play date when you get back?" Emma smiled sadly at the message. In the midst of all this chaos, Sophie's innocent request was a stark reminder of the normal life they were fighting to protect. As she was about to reply, there was a knock at the door. Emma tensed, then relaxed when she heard Alex's voice. "Emma, it's me. Are you ready?" Opening the door, Emma was surprised to see not just Alex, but Sophie as well. The young girl rushed forward, enveloping Emma in a hug. "I wanted to say goodbye," Sophie said, her voice muffled against Emma's shirt. "And to give this to Mia." She held out a small, wrapped package. Emma felt tears prick her eyes. "Thank you, Sophie. I'm sure Mia will love it." Alex cleared his throat, clearly emotional himself. "We should get going. The security team is waiting downstairs." As they made their way to the waiting car, Mia clutching her backpack and looking confused, Emma felt the weight of their situation. She was about to uproot her daughter's life, to hide away from a threat she couldn't fully explain to Mia. "Mom, where are we going?" Mia asked as they settled into the car. "Why isn't Sophie coming with us?" Emma exchanged a glance with Alex, who nodded encouragingly. "We're going on a little adventure, sweetie," Emma said, forcing cheerfulness into her voice. "And when we come back, you and Sophie can have that play date, okay?" As the car pulled away from the curb, Emma watched the city blur past the windows. She thought about the life they were leaving behind, even if only temporarily. The small apartment that had been their home, Mia's school, her cleaning job, all of it felt like it belonged to another life now. But as she looked at Mia, who was already engrossed in opening Sophie's gift, Emma knew she was doing the right thing. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever dangers they faced, protecting Mia was all that mattered. Emma caught Alex's eye in the rearview mirror. He gave her a reassuring nod, and she felt a surge of determination. They were in this together, and together they would see it through to the end. As the car sped towards the outskirts of the city, Emma took a deep breath. This was just a temporary setback, she told herself. Soon they would return. The truth would be revealed, and justice would be served. With that thought, she pulled Mia closer, ready to face whatever came next. While Emma and Mia were safely tucked away at the secure location, Alex doubled down on the investigation. He spent long nights in his office, poring over documents and following money trails. It was during one of these late-night sessions that he stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. Alex's eyes widened as he stared at his computer screen. He had been digging into the background of Richard Harding, the executive who had confronted them at the cafe. What he found was shocking. Harding had a history that went far beyond corporate misdeeds. There were whispers of connections to organized crime, money laundering operations that spanned continents. Alex realized they weren't just dealing with corporate corruption. They were potentially facing off against a criminal enterprise. He immediately called Jack Reeves, the investigative journalist. "Jack, I've got something big. Can you meet me?" An hour later, they convened in Alex's office. As Alex laid out his findings, Jack's expression grew increasingly grave. "This is explosive, Alex," Jack said, scribbling notes furiously. "If we can prove these connections, it's not just the end of Harding's career. We're talking federal investigations, possible RICO charges." Alex nodded, his face set with determination. "We need to move fast. The longer we wait, the more time they have to cover their tracks, or worse." They spent the next few hours formulating a plan. They would need hard evidence to back up these allegations: bank records, communication logs, witness testimonies, anything that could corroborate the connection between Harding and his criminal associates. As dawn broke, Alex made a decision. "We need to confront Harding directly," he said, "at the company gala next week. It's our best chance to catch him off guard, maybe get him to slip up." Jack looked skeptical. "That's risky, Alex. These people are dangerous. They've already made threats against Emma and her daughter." "I know," Alex replied, his voice heavy with the weight of responsibility. "But we can't hide forever. Emma and Mia are safe for now, but we need to end this. For them, and for everyone else, these criminals have hurt." They spent the next few days preparing. Alex arranged for additional security at the gala, and Jack prepared a series of pointed questions designed to rattle Harding. They also reached out to a few trusted board members, discreetly informing them of the situation to ensure they had some backup within the company. The night of the gala arrived. The hotel ballroom was a sea of expensive gowns and tuxedos, the air filled with the chatter of New York's elite. Alex adjusted his tie, his eyes scanning the room for Harding. He spotted him near the bar, laughing with a group of executives. Taking a deep breath, Alex made his way over, Jack close behind. "Richard," Alex said, his voice cutting through the conversation, "we need to talk." Harding's smile faltered for a moment before he regained his composure. "Alex, always a pleasure. And Mr. Reeves, I didn't realize the press was invited to our little soiree." "Cut the act, Richard," Alex said, his voice low but firm. "We know about your other business interests, the offshore accounts, the connections to the Moretti crime family. It's over." The color drained from Harding's face, but he quickly recovered. "I don't know what you're talking about, Alex. Perhaps you've had too much champagne." Jack stepped forward, recorder in hand. "Mr. Harding, would you care to comment on the allegations of your involvement in a multi-million-dollar money laundering operation?" Harding's eyes darted around the room, clearly looking for an escape route. "This is absurd. I won't stand here and listen to these baseless accusations." As Harding turned to leave, Alex grabbed his arm. "Running away, Richard? That's not very becoming of a man of your stature." The tension in the air was palpable. Other guests had started to notice the confrontation, whispers spreading through the crowd. Harding's face contorted with anger. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Carter," he hissed. "You think you can take me down? I've got friends in places you can't even imagine. That little cleaning lady of yours? Consider her days numbered." Alex's grip tightened on Harding's arm. "That sounds an awful lot like a threat, Richard. Care to repeat that for Mr. Reeves's recorder?" Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance to the ballroom. Emma burst in, her face flushed and determined. She had left Mia in the care of Alex's security team and returned to the city, unable to stay away from the fight any longer. As she approached the group, Harding's face twisted into a sneer. "Well, well, the gang's all here, ready to watch your world come crashing down, sweetheart." Emma stood tall, her voice steady as she addressed the now silent room. "The only world crashing down is yours, Mr. Harding. We have the evidence, we have the witnesses, and now we have your confession." The ballroom erupted into chaos as security moved in to detain Harding. As he was led away, shouting threats and denials, Alex turned to Emma, a mix of relief and admiration on his face. "I thought I told you to stay safe," he said, but there was no reproach in his voice. Emma smiled, the adrenaline of the moment still coursing through her. "Since when do I just do what I'm told? We're in this together, remember?" As the sound of sirens approached from outside, Alex, Emma, and Jack shared a look of triumph. The battle wasn't over, but they had won a crucial victory. The truth was finally coming to light, and with it, the promise of justice. The aftermath of the gala was a whirlwind of activity. Police swarmed the hotel, taking statements from shocked guests. Harding was led away in handcuffs, his face a mask of rage and defeat. Emma, Alex, and Jack found themselves in the center of a media storm. reporters clamoring for details of the scandal that had just broken wide open. As the night wore on, they retreated to Alex's office to regroup. The adrenaline of the confrontation was wearing off, replaced by a mix of exhaustion and nervous energy. "What happens now?" Emma asked, sinking into a chair. Alex ran a hand through his hair, his tie loosened and jacket discarded. "Now we brace for impact. This is going to shake the company to its core." Jack was already on his phone, talking rapidly to his editor. "The story's going to break in the morning edition. It's going to be front-page news across the country." As they discussed their next steps, there was a knock at the door. Alex's assistant poked her head in. "Mr. Carter, the board is demanding an emergency meeting. They're on their way here now." Alex nodded, straightening his tie. "It's showtime," he muttered. Within the hour, the boardroom was filled with agitated executives, all talking over each other. The tension in the room was palpable as Alex entered, followed by Emma and Jack. "What is the meaning of this, Carter?" one of the board members demanded. "Do you have any idea of the damage you've done?" Alex stood at the head of the table, his voice calm but firm. "The damage was done long before tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to start fixing it." He began to lay out the evidence they had gathered, detailing the extent of the corruption that had infected the company. Some board members looked shocked, others angry, and a few guilty. As Alex spoke, Emma watched the reactions around the room. She noticed one board member, an older man named Johnson, growing increasingly agitated. Just as Alex was wrapping up his explanation, Johnson stood up abruptly. "This is preposterous," he shouted. "You can't possibly expect us to believe this fairy tale. And who is she?" He pointed at Emma. "What right does a cleaning woman have to be part of this discussion?" Emma felt all eyes turn to her. For a moment, she felt small, out of place in this room of powerful executives. But then she remembered why she was there, why she had risked everything. She stood up, her voice steady. "My name is Emma, and I'm here because I believe in doing what's right. I may be a cleaning woman, but I was the one who uncovered this corruption. I was the one who had the courage to speak up when I saw something wrong." The room fell silent. Emma continued, her confidence growing. "I've seen how this company operates from the ground up. I've cleaned your offices, overheard your conversations, seen the documents you leave lying around. And let me tell you, the view from down there, it's not pretty." She turned to address the whole room. "This company doesn't just belong to you. It belongs to every employee, from the CEO to the janitor, and we all have a responsibility to ensure it operates with integrity." Alex stepped forward, standing beside Emma. "She's right. We've lost sight of what this company should stand for. It's time for a change, and it starts here, tonight." The board members exchanged glances, a mix of emotions playing across their faces. Some looked chastened, others thoughtful. Johnson, however, was not finished. "This is absurd," he sputtered. "You can't possibly think you can get away with this. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" Jack, who had been quietly recording the meeting, spoke up. "I think the question is, do you know who you're dealing with? The press, the police, and soon the public will all know about what's been happening here. The choice you have to make now is whether you want to be on the right side of this story." A tense silence fell over the room. Then, slowly, one of the younger board members stood up. "I think we need to listen to what Mr. Carter and Emma have to say. If what they're saying is true, we have a lot of work to do to set things right." Others began to nod in agreement. Johnson and a few others stormed out of the room, but the majority stayed, ready to hear more. As the meeting continued into the early hours of the morning, plans were made for a company-wide audit, new transparency measures, and a complete overhaul of the corporate structure. Emma felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had stood her ground, made her voice heard in a room where she never thought she'd have a place. As she caught Alex's eye across the table, she saw pride and something else. A warmth that made her heart skip a beat. As dawn broke over the city, Emma, Alex, and Jack left the office, tired but triumphant. The road ahead would be challenging, but they had taken the first crucial steps towards justice and change. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from the security team watching Mia. "Everything okay?" it read. Emma smiled, typing back a simple response. "Better than okay. We did it." The days following the confrontation at the gala and the emergency board meeting were a blur of activity. Emma and Alex found themselves at the center of a media storm, their faces splashed across newspapers and television screens. The story of the cleaning woman who exposed corporate corruption had captured the public's imagination. As they left Alex's building one evening, they were immediately surrounded by a group of reporters and photographers. Camera flashes blinded them as questions were shouted from all directions. "Emma, how does it feel to be hailed as a whistleblower hero?" "Mr. Carter, what's next for the company? Is it true that there's a romantic relationship between you two?" Alex instinctively put his arm around Emma, guiding her through the crowd towards a waiting car. Once inside, they both let out a sigh of relief. "I don't think I'll ever get used to that," Emma said, her heart still racing. Alex gave her a sympathetic smile. "It'll die down eventually. But for now, we need to be careful. Harding and his associates aren't going down without a fight." As if on cue, Emma's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a news alert. Richard Harding, released on bail, vows to fight charges. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. "Alex, look at this." Alex read the alert, his face hardening. "We need to move fast. They're going to try to discredit us, maybe even worse." They spent the next few hours in Alex's penthouse, coordinating with their legal team and Jack Reeves. They needed to stay ahead of whatever Harding and his allies were planning. As night fell, Emma stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city. The lights twinkled below, a stark contrast to the darkness she felt closing in around them. "Penny for your thoughts?" Alex said, coming to stand beside her. Emma turned to him, her eyes filled with worry. "I'm scared, Alex. Not for myself, but for Mia. What if they try to hurt her to get to us?" Alex put his hands on her shoulders, his gaze steady. "I promise you, Emma, I won't let anything happen to Mia. We're in this together, remember?" As they stood there, the proximity between them charged with unspoken emotions, Emma's phone rang. It was an unknown number. With trembling hands, she answered. "Hello?" "Ms. Walker," a deep voice said. "I represent Mr. Harding. He has a proposition for you." Emma put the phone on speaker, exchanging a glance with Alex. "I'm listening." "Mr. Harding is willing to offer you a substantial sum of money in exchange for your silence. Retract your statements, and you and your daughter will be very well taken care of." Emma's voice was steel when she replied. "Tell Mr. Harding he can keep his blood money. I'm not for sale." The voice on the other end grew cold. "I urge you to reconsider, Ms. Walker. Things could get very unpleasant for you and your little girl if you don't cooperate." Before Emma could respond, Alex snatched the phone. "Listen carefully," he growled. "If anything happens to Emma or Mia, if they so much as stub a toe, I will personally ensure that Harding and everyone associated with him goes down. Do you understand me?" There was a moment of silence before the line went dead. Emma sank onto the couch, her legs weak. "They're not going to stop, are they?" Alex sat beside her, taking her hand. "No, they're not. But neither are we." Just then, there was a loud knock at the door. They both tensed, Alex moving protectively in front of Emma. He approached the door cautiously, looking through the peephole. To their surprise, it was Jack Reeves, looking disheveled and out of breath. "Jack?" "What's going on?" Alex asked as he let him in. Jack's eyes were wide with excitement. "You're not going to believe this. I just got a call from an anonymous source. They say they have documents that prove Harding's connections to organized crime. Emails, bank statements, everything." Emma and Alex exchanged shocked looks. This could be the breakthrough they needed. "Who's the source?" Emma asked. Jack shook his head. "They wouldn't say, but they want to meet. Tonight." Alex frowned. "It could be a trap. Or it could be our chance to end this once and for all," Emma countered. They all looked at each other, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Finally, Alex nodded. "Okay, we'll go. But we're not taking any chances. I'm calling in extra security." As they prepared to leave, Emma felt a mix of fear and determination. They were walking into unknown territory, potentially facing grave danger. But they were also on the verge of uncovering the truth that could bring down Harding and his criminal empire for good. Emma took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. One way or another, this night would change everything. The meeting location was a dimly lit parking garage on the outskirts of the city. Emma, Alex, and Jack arrived in a nondescript car, flanked by two unmarked vehicles carrying Alex's security team. The tension was palpable as they waited, scanning the shadows for any sign of their mysterious informant. A figure emerged from behind a concrete pillar, face obscured by a hood. As the person approached, Emma's heart raced. The informant stopped a few feet away, hands raised to show they were unarmed. "Are you the ones looking for information on Harding?" a female voice asked. Alex stepped forward. "We are. Who are you?" The figure lowered her hood, revealing a familiar face. It was Sarah Jenkins, one of the executives who had been at the confrontation in the cafe. Emma gasped in surprise. "I've been working undercover for the FBI for the past year," Sarah explained, her voice low and urgent. "We've been building a case against Harding and his criminal network, but we needed someone on the inside to blow the whistle. That's where you came in, Emma." Emma's mind reeled. "You mean, you knew about me? About what I overheard?" Sarah nodded. "We've been watching you since that day. Your courage in coming forward gave us the opening we needed. But now, things have escalated beyond what we anticipated. Harding's desperate, and that makes him dangerous." She handed Jack a flash drive. "This contains everything you need to bring down Harding and his entire operation. Emails, financial records, recorded conversations, it's all there." As Jack pocketed the drive, the sound of screeching tires echoed through the garage. Headlights suddenly flooded the area, temporarily blinding them. "It's a trap!" Alex yelled, pulling Emma behind a nearby car. Gunshots rang out, bullets pinging off metal and concrete. Alex's security team returned fire, creating a chaotic crossfire in the enclosed space. In the midst of the chaos, Emma saw Sarah crumple to the ground, hit by a stray bullet. Without thinking, Emma darted out from behind cover, dragging Sarah to safety. "Emma, no!" Alex shouted, but it was too late. As Emma pulled Sarah behind a pillar, she felt a sharp pain in her arm. She'd been hit, but adrenaline kept her moving. The firefight seemed to last an eternity, but in reality, it was over in minutes. The sound of police sirens filled the air, growing louder by the second. Harding's men retreated, leaving behind a scene of destruction. As the echo of the last gunshot faded, Emma slumped against the pillar, the pain in her arm intensifying. "Emma!" Alex was at her side in an instant, his face pale with worry. "You're hurt." Emma managed a weak smile. "It's just a graze. I'll be fine." Paramedics swarmed the scene, tending to Sarah and Emma. As she was being loaded into an ambulance, Emma saw FBI agents arriving, taking charge of the scene. Hours later, in a hospital room, Emma woke to find Alex asleep in a chair beside her bed, his hand holding hers. On the TV in the corner, a news anchor was reporting breaking news. In a stunning development, Richard Harding, and several high-ranking executives have been arrested on charges of fraud, money laundering, and attempted murder. Sources say the arrests were made possible by evidence provided by an undercover FBI agent and the courageous actions of a whistleblower identified as Emma Walker, a former cleaning staff member. Emma squeezed Alex's hand, waking him. He looked up, relief flooding his face. "It's over," Emma said softly. "We did it." Alex nodded, his eyes shining with emotion. "You did it, Emma. You changed everything." As they sat there, the first light of dawn peeking through the hospital window, Emma felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been dangerous and difficult, but they had prevailed. In the days that followed, as Emma recovered and the full extent of Harding's crimes came to light, she found herself thrust into the spotlight as a symbol of courage and integrity. The company underwent a massive restructuring, with Alex at the helm, implementing sweeping changes to ensure transparency and ethical practices. Emma was offered a position on the company's new ethics board, a role she accepted with determination to make a real difference. Mia and Sophie became inseparable friends, their bond a symbol of the bridges built between worlds once thought unbridgeable. As for Emma and Alex, their shared ordeal had forged a deep connection. They took things slowly, both aware of the complexities of their situation, but neither could deny the growing feelings between them. One evening, as they stood on the balcony of Alex's penthouse, looking out over the city they had helped to change, Emma reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her here. "You know," she said, turning to Alex, "when I first overheard that conversation, I never imagined it would lead to all this." Alex smiled, taking her hand. "You showed us all what one person with courage and integrity can do. You changed not just the company, but all of our lives." As the sun set over New York, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emma felt a sense of possibility she had never known before. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in her life, she felt truly empowered to shape it. The city below bustled with life, each light in the windows representing a story, a struggle, a dream. Emma had shown that even the most unlikely person could make a difference, could stand up against injustice, and win. As she leaned into Alex's embrace, Emma knew that while this chapter of her story had come to an end, a new and exciting one was just beginning.